Good morning and thank you for joining me on another day's adventure. Since I'm on my way to Lithuania, let's have a quick look at the travel card.
Welcome to Lithuania. Here's a snapshot of useful travel information. The currency is the euro, and in cases of emergency, dial 112. If you plan to use a drone, check the latest regulations at tka.lt. If you're driving, the official toll website is stz.parkavimaskaune.lt. There are a number of charging networks run by local and regional operators like Ignitis, Enefit, Volt, L-Drive and Electron Drive, etc. You will also find large international operators like Ionity. Finally, here are some places I recommend visiting. What would you like to see?
It is 9 a.m. and I'm on my way from Gdansk to somewhere in Lithuania. This somewhere will be largely dictated by the weather gods, so the main aim is just to get across the border. It was drizzling when I left the campground at 7:20 and has developed into a full-blown downpour over time with the occasional dry stretches. At least the windscreen is clean again, thank you. This is a rather unpleasant development though, as it reduces my operational range significantly due to higher consumption. And as a result, I had to look around for an alternative charging point to the Ionity charger I was headed for. I may have made it, but not by much, and it was out of the way anyway. So I decided to stop here in Miłomłyn, and this is where things got interesting. Charger and petrol station are run by Moya Energia. The description on how to charge that is displayed on the charger is very clear and detailed. So far so good. But that is also where the good things end. There literally does not appear to be any indication as to the price per kilowatt hour. You are asked whether you want to charge for 100 or 200 or 400 zloty. But you aren't told at any point how much energy that would buy you. It's like the old joke, I didn't realize the fuel price had increased because I always only refuel for 20 euros. How that can pass EU price transparency regulations is beyond me. So what did I do? I downloaded the Velocity app because that is what popped up on Google Maps, and that one gave me a price of 219 Polish zloty per kilowatt hour, which is slightly more than the 205 I would pay at Ionity, and converted that's 51 cents versus 47 cents. With 55 kilowatt hours and battery from 20 to 88%, I didn't quite charge as much as I would have preferred because the charger display, not the app, indicated a penalty of undisclosed value if you charge for more than 30 minutes. Again, price transparency seems to be paramount here, or not. In hindsight, I should have disconnected and started afresh, as weather really didn't mean well and the alleged 65 kilometers of excess range to the charger in Lithuania shrank to -8 kilometers just before the border. So I bit the bullet and charged again using the Velocity app. Everything in Poland's peripheral area seems to be quite a bit more expensive. Fuel went up from around 6 zloty to 7, while energy did even worse, from 219 to 262, and I saw even 3 Polish zloty per kilowatt hour. Needless to say, I only charged as much as I had to in order to make it safely to the Ionity charger near Kaunas in Lithuania, where I could charge for as little as 30 cents per kilowatt hour. Welcome to Lithuania. Weather still sucks, but it dried off a little after I left Kaunas, or more precisely, the Ionity charger at Garliava. There were some places I wanted to see towards Vilnius, but weather looked way better in the west and way worse in the east. Hence, me going west. Not the Wild West, but rather a tame one instead. Well, kind of, if you ignore the weather. I stopped at another Ionity charger about 123 kilometers down the road in Kryžkalnis to top up to 100%. Local providers are a bit more expensive, so I wanted to get as far as possible on the cheap, as the next Ionity station is in Riga. Well, I had not checked at this point that the price per kilowatt hour at Ionity in Latvia is 42 cents and not 30. So that idea would have been moot from the start. After long stretches through the rain, I eventually arrived at Klaipėda, or more precisely Karkelbeck 409 campground. This is a neat and tidy little campground right by the sea and north of Klaipėda. Weather wasn't quite right for a swim though. Not for a wuss like me anyway. I had a very interesting conversation with Mates, the owner. He too is an avid EV driver and has had his share of long-distance driving and sleeping in the car, an Ioniq 5. Though his youthful driving style matches his age and averages a higher speed than mine. He confirmed that for Lithuania, the best charging option appears to be Ionity. Local providers can occasionally be cheaper, especially for the locals, but usually are more expensive. Not sure how we got to this topic, but Matas told me that the third government within 3 years had just been sworn in. Like in so many countries, foreign influence and interference in the politics is strong in Lithuania. With the dubiously funded Populist Party out of the government and back into the opposition, fear is now great that they can emerge strengthened, as a common strategy of populist parties globally is to point fingers and blame without ever providing solutions. Sadly, a lot of people still tend to fall for this instead of demanding concrete plans for solutions before giving them their vote. It is strange though, well, or not, that populist parties in just about any country always seem to be dubiously and opaquely funded. It's no stretch to think that the interests these parties drive are those of foreign lobbyists and or very big tech and industry. But enough of politics, even though it is an important, albeit depressing topic. At the campground I could charge for 25 cents per kilowatt hour, but at a rate of 1.2 kilowatt per hour, and that would not get the battery to 100% overnight, but still it would top it up regardless. Since weather is looking bad for the next 10 days, I decided to drop my program and just keep moving and hope for some nice shots along the way. For today, let's have a look at the map and driving data. I drove from Gdansk in eastern direction and took the long route around the Russian-occupied territory of Königsberg or Kaliningrad. There is next to zero chance of getting a drive-through visa for that section these days, and if you do, you'll probably be dissected at the other end. I'll pass, thank you. After 116 kilometers, I stopped at a Moya Energia station in Miłomłyn and charged the car from 20 to 88%, which was 55 kilowatt hours, at a price of 2.19 Polish zloty per kilowatt hour. This, so I thought, would take me to Kaunas in Lithuania, where I intended to charge again. Well, I was wrong. Pouring rain and strong headwinds reduced the range significantly, and after 260 kilometers, I had to stop for a top-up just before the border in Suwałki. While enjoying a thunderstorm, I charged another 26 kilowatt hours to get the battery from 28 to 59%. Still thriving in the pouring rain, I drove 117 kilometers to Garliava near Kaunas to charge the car from 31 to 96%, which was 52 kilowatt hours, and I had a bite to eat. From there, I drove first another 123 kilometers to Kryžkalnis to charge the car from 70 to 100%, another 26 kilowatt hours, and then 114 kilometers to Karkelbeck 409 campground, where I charged overnight from 77 to 90% in just under 13 hours. At a rate of 1.2 kilowatt hours per hour, this makes 15.5 kilowatt hours. I felt like it was a lot of driving today, and it turned out to be just that, a total of 730 kilometers added to the tally in a day. Not exactly what I had in mind for this trip. I don't mind spending all day on the road, but the objective of this journey is a different one. Consumption has been high today, with the first stint at 16.3, the second at 17.7, the third 18.8, the fourth 17.4, and the last one at 16.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers according to the car. Again, partially this is attributed to a lot of motorway driving and partially to the very wet and windy conditions. As always, you can find the driving data on my website at www.TRAVELectric.net. And with that, I thank you for joining me again on this adventure. I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative. And if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you again for our next stage, when we will enter Latvia. You have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.